got to do, we've got to take off this axle nut. Now it's very, very, very tight, and it's staked. So you have to bend that out. The way I did that, I didn't really bend it out. I kind of chewed it up, but I used a hammer and a screwdriver to bend that tab out. Okay, once you get to that point, now this is so tight, I put pipes and such on before and I still couldn't break it loose, but I used a simple oxygen propane torch, probably about 2 minutes on that, torched that nut, got it hot, and this is a 36 millimeter nut. I've already loosened it, and I used this pipe, and it just broke free easily. It's worth using a torch. It can be almost impossible to get that nut off. So, and then after I take the nut off, I'm going to take the tire off, and then we'll be ready for the next step. The shock absorber fork, and we got to take this bolt out right here, and I've already done it, and it uses a 19 millimeter socket. This is what I used right there, and a ratchet, and it comes out without much problem. And then what is harder is this ball joint here. It goes through the lower control arm, and okay, the ball joint goes through this lower control arm. It's got a nut on it too. Take that off. It's got a cotter pin. You need to take that off first. And the problem is, then you've got to raise this steering knuckle up, and you have to separate the ball joint from the lower control arm. And I've done that here, and I've tried a couple ways. The shop manual says use a 2-jaw puller, like you see right there. Doesn't work. Tapping on that stud doesn't work. There was a thing on YouTube where a guy jacks it up and releases the jack suddenly. That doesn't work. What does work, and works well, is a wedge. Okay, a wedge separator. You put that right around the ball joint, above it, above the lower control arm there, and just pound on it, and it'll come up. Okay, this is the steering knuckle, or some people call it the spindle assembly from the 91 Honda Accord. And look at it from this side. Now, in a minute I'll show you how to remove it from the car. But while it was out, the reason I took it out was the wheel bearing was growling terribly. It was so loud it was hard to even talk in the passenger compartment. Now this is the wheel bearing right here, and the rotor has to come out to replace, before you can replace the wheel bearing. Now that's the old wheel bearing, and there you can see another view of it. And here's, while it was out, I had the lower ball joint repaired too. You might as well. And I bought both of these things on eBay. This bearing there was about, no, it wasn't much, $18, and this was 2 of them for $20. And you can see here's the new ball joint pressed in, and also the rotor comes off, and then this, this is the new bearing there, and it spins really nice. You can see it's nice and tight. The other one will wiggle. You could actually see it wiggle, and you could hear a roughness just turning it by hand. Now you can't knock these out by yourself. You can take this off, and show you how to do it. But and I've seen on YouTube where a guy knocks it out. But even if you can knock it out, you can't get the new one back in. And it takes specialized equipment, a hydraulic press. Same thing with the ball joint. Don't think you can do it yourself. But it only cost me $35 to have a new bearing pressed in and a new ball joint pressed in. So when you get the steering knuckle off, you want to take it to a place that can handle this. I'll show you now how to take the whole assembly out. Okay, to get the steering knuckle out, you're going to need the right tools. These tie rod separator and a ball joint separator. They're different widths there at the fork end, and also a good sledgehammer. I don't think I could have got it out without a sledgehammer. You really have to whack on them to get it out. And putting it back in, that lower ball joint, it would go right here. When you set your steering knuckle back in, your tie rod right there connects to right to here, and you have a upper ball joint too, and that would be this right here. Now I can hear mine rattles, so I'm going to have to replace that too. To get that out, there's two nuts back there. You're going to have to pull this whole assembly out, but it doesn't look like it's too hard. So and then there's a big bolt nut right here. This fork thing's got a funny spindleized nut and bolt that goes in there. Take that out. Take your brake calipers off. That's easy. You just got two 17mm bolts on the back. I'm supporting it here with string, so rope, so that it doesn't put any weight on this brake line. And there's a brake line support goes right here on your spindle. So you want to take that off, and that's all you need to do to get the spindle out. I took the axle shaft out, but you don't need to do that. You do need to be able to twist the spindle away from the axle shaft. The axle shaft goes right through the middle of it, so you need to rotate it away. And I rotated this way towards the tie rod side. Well, I'm going to get busy taking this upper ball joint out, and that should help you fix your wheel bearing and ball joints.